What's up, everybody? You probably saw my video on the payroll tax deferment, and I got a lot of comments, love, hate, whatever, and I really just wanted to answer some of those comments and dig a little bit deeper into it. So this will help you understand exactly what the payroll tax is not, what it may do, what some of the ramifications are, what some of the plans are, and I'll tell you at the very end how I decided to use this money because a lot of you were asking after I talked about what you could do with it. So let's dig in. First, if you look at this is the DFAS, which is the Defense Finance and Accounting Service. Yes, I had to read that because I don't have it memorized. But this is the email they sent out. So this is talking about during the COVID-19 pandemic, Presidential Memorandum, August 8th, 2020, talking about how this comes out. So I'll leave this on the screen for a second so you can kind of read it. But the key facts are Social Security tax, which is labeled as Social Security on your LES, which is calculated as 6.2%, which is what I said. This is effective from mid-September to the end of December, and that you're not eligible to opt out if you're in the military. Deferral automatically happens, and in accordance with current guidelines from the IRS, collection of the deferred taxes will take place from January 1st to April 30th. Now, I'm assuming that this means that it'll just be double dipped back out of your paycheck, but it could be something that you just pay back in your taxes. I don't know. Yet to be seen. There's talk of it being forgiven. Who knows, right? And then if you separate or retire in 2020 before it can be collected in 2021, you'll still be responsible for it. So that, I believe, actually answers the question. So it should come out of your paycheck, but in that case, it'll come out of taxes down the road, right? Now, again, this is not a huge amount of money, right? 6.2%. If you make $1,000, it's $62 a month. So we're talking like $200-300 a month for 4 months, right? So like $1,200. So not the end of the world either way for $1,200 over 4 months to make or break. But again, if you live paycheck to paycheck, don't grow into this expense, right? Don't increase your expenses. Don't move up in the world to where this is the, you need this money, and definitely don't blow it all if you're going to be cutting it so close that when you get the other $200-300 taken out in January through April, that you're screwed, right? So those are some cautionary, like, just make sure you either you don't blow it, you don't spend it, you don't waste it, or you can afford to, right? Like if you have your finances set up, then that might not be a big deal, in which case you can do what I did, which I'll talk about in a minute. But real quick, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. We're going to be doing a lot more military finance stuff as this channel grows, because it is becoming evident that people like military-specific finance stuff. Granted, I will still talk a ton about real estate investing, side hustles, and everything else, and most of the stuff we talk about on this channel is applicable whether you're in the military or not. Nonetheless, this video is all about the payroll tax. So that's everyone, but it's mandatory to accept this if you're in the military, which is why we're talking about it here. All right, the first thing that I got asked a lot in the comments was about what happens if you received the payment but weren't able to pay it back, or if you did not receive the full deferment and then were able to pay it back. So the two scenarios here, the first one that I got asked about is what happens if I join the military in October, November, December. So let's say you join in December and you only get 1 month of the tax deferment, but then it's going to get pulled out of your paycheck double and owed back January through April. That sounds terrible, right? You only made $200-300 and you lose the $900 to $1,200. So I understand why I got this question from some young men and women, but the reality is that a deferment works. You only pay back what was deferred. So if you only had the December paycheck that you received where the taxes were deferred, then you would only need to pay back one paycheck or 1 month's worth of that deferment, because the IRS is only going to take back the amount that was owed. And the second scenario here is people are saying that we might get a pay raise. So people were afraid that if you were making $1,000 and then that jumped to $1,100, that now you would go from you only received the $62, which is 6.2% of 1,000, and now you have to pay back 68.2%, which is 6.2% of 1,100. I hope that's right because I did that off the top of my head. But look, so that's not reality. Again, they're only going to take what was deferred. So if you paid $62 in taxes, then you'll pay back $62 in taxes whether your pay increased or not. Just like if you had a pay raise in November, then you would pay back 6.2% for September and November, and again 6.2% for November, December, whatever that pay difference total was. So in a deferment, you pay back what you got to keep. That's the way deferments work. Just like with a 1031 exchange, which is real estate speak, if you have a $100,000 tax deferment and then you go forward like 50 years or whatever, it's still a $100,000 tax deferment, even if I don't know, whatever changed, right? Like that's how much was deferred. That's how much you pay taxes on or how much you pay back, right? So it doesn't fluctuate because you are now earning more money and they're still just going to flat pull 6.2%. It is based on your tax deferment and the amount that you had received, and that's how much you'll pay back. Now, I have also heard several people say that we are going to get a pay raise in January, so that will negate having to pay this back. Maybe, but here's the thing. I don't remember the last time we got a 6.2% pay raise, so it's not going to completely negate the difference when you pay it back. Maybe you get a 3%. You're still going to owe some back that's going to be whatever. But you just can't be running around telling people we are going to get a pay raise because that's just not the reality. That doesn't always happen, right? For those of you who've seen my military pay chart where I break down like inflation adjusted pay chart, pay raises and how much inflation happened with what pay raise and all that other stuff, you may know a lot of times they coincide, right? And it also depends on the president, right? So, I mean, I know that I say all the time the president doesn't control this, that, and the other, but a more pro-military president will increase pay more than a non-pro-military president because that just makes sense, right? There's more money in the budget. So, who knows, because we're coming up on election time, and who knows because of everything else going on, and who knows, there's no way to know that, especially because realistically, 2020, we haven't experienced a whole lot of inflation. Now, there's always the talk of hyperinflation later, and this is not a video about all that, but if you look at 2020 inflation to date, it's actually not really, it's like negligible. It's less than 1%, right? So who knows if we're going to get a pay raise? So don't bank on that. You need to pretend that this money does not exist if you're not financially set up to handle the fact that you're going to be short on paychecks January through April. Now, if you budget for being short on paychecks January through April, and then for whatever reason you're not, great, you got extra play money, right? But if you don't budget for that and then you are, well, you just shot yourself in the foot. So just be smart. Make sure that January through April you're prepared for less money. And then if it doesn't happen, great, right? Prepare for the worst, expect the best, or hope for the best, hope for the best, prepare for the worst, as the military says. Like, that's the way you want to approach this. Now, I also got several people making political comments in my comments, and they were all, of course, emotionally charged. I got several President Trump is buying votes comments, and I got several, the Social Security is being destroyed, the president is a madman, whatever, right? I'm just going to reiterate this. First off, the president, although they get way too much credit for ups and downs, ups if you're on their side, downs if they're not on their side, right? It's not a one-man decision. None of this is a one-man decision. Like, the president doesn't control every single thing. Don't get me wrong. He's the leader. But I'm all for extreme ownership, whatever. But, like, you can't just be like, President Trump gave us the stimulus or President Trump didn't give us the stimulus. Like, that still goes through Congress. It still goes through the Senate. It still goes through all that stuff. It's not just one man saying, yep, nope. Like, this is not a dictatorship. That's not how we operate. Second, and most importantly, this is not a political channel. We're not here to discuss politics, right? I'm not here to tell you about how I'm super left and super right and right down the middle and my guy's worse than yours and my guy's better than yours. This is a military channel. You guys shouldn't be talking about politics on here. And if you're a veteran, that's great, but don't bring that crap around here. Like, we don't want that. We want to have logical, objective discussions that do not come from a political or emotional sphere. So if you can't handle that, then please just go elsewhere, right? There are plenty of people who want to hear about your political crap. Not me, right? Not my listeners. Just no, like, leave it alone. It is not worth it. It's just, you can't win. You're not going to change anyone's mind in the comment on YouTube. So just understand this is not a political channel. So I'm over it. You should be over it. And if you see me commenting, like, I kind of troll people who do that. Like, you'll be like, you'll make this super long post that's super negative, and I'll be like, you should probably stop focusing on negativity. Or maybe you should stop watching the news. And I'm a firm believer of that, right? You'll see on the podcast with Donnie O'Malley that he talks about this when it comes out here in a few weeks. And that's just the idea that, like, watching the news, like, I don't watch the news unless I have to, right? Because people will tell me if something big is going on, but the news is super negative. You've heard me say this a million times. It's driven on anger and fear, the two strongest human emotions. So if you watch it, you're going to get angry. You're going to get fearful. It is what it is. Find an objective source to get your information from, not CNN, not Fox, not the news. Just do your own homework, read a book, focus on the good things, right? Just don't get so wrapped up in politics that you become a jerk. That's my disclaimer for all that. And again, the Social Security being destroyed. First off, This is a deferment, so it's going to get paid back, right? So that negates Social Security being destroyed. Second, if it does, for whatever reason, it gets forgiven or, whatever, it's 3 months and it's only the military. We're like, so, I mean, don't get me wrong. Other people can take this, but from what I've talked to other people, they're not going to. So the military and like the federal, like that opt in automatically instead of opt out automatically, that's going to be the biggest subset of people who take this. Active duty military is like 1% of the U.S. population. Actually, let me make sure my facts are correct. How much of the U.S. is active duty military? 1.3 million, or less than 0.5%. So I was overestimating, right? So less than 1% of the U.S. population. You're telling me the Social Security system cannot handle 1% of the population not funding it for 3 months? If that's what's going to bring down Social Security, it was freaking doomed to begin with, right? So don't be a freaking naysaying, sky is falling, whatever. Think rationally. Don't think fearfully. Don't project that stuff. It's not necessary, right? Like, just understand that that's not a thing. Now, I'm not saying it's a good idea to not fund Social Security, but I could get into a whole nother video on that. But look, if you have to rely on Social Security to survive at the end of your life, like, you messed up some stuff along the way. So take some ownership now and make sure, like I do, that Social Security is cool, but I'm never going to need it. Now, if I get it, awesome. If I don't get it, awesome. Whatever, I don't need it. So I'm going to take care of my own finances. And you should do the same, right? But this will not destroy Social Security, and as of right now, we're going to repay it all, so it really won't destroy Social Security, so please get out of here with that crap. All right, now, the moment you've all been waiting for, probably not, but what I did with my bonus / deferment / whatever you want to call it, right? Payroll tax cut. It's really, really cool, actually. I did this super, super highly complicated investing strategy that I would love to share with you. My proprietary investing method, but you'd have to buy my $20 million course and then subscribe to all 7 of my newsletters and pay me $100 a day for the rest of your life. Okay, look, all I did with it was I realized this is 6.2% that I'm not paying out of my paycheck. So I increased my TSP by 6% for the next 4 months, and then I will decrease it back down by 6% because, as I mentioned in the other video, my finances are okay. So I have an emergency fund, and I have a cash buffer, and I have some cash flowing rental properties and some cash flowing assets, and I make some passive income here, there, whatever. And so I don't need the 6.2%. Like, it's great, but whatever. I'm not going to miss it January through April. Like, it's not going to be a big deal for me. So I would rather just dump it straight into my TSP, which means that I'm now putting 35% plus, 31% plus the 5% match. So 36% of my paycheck into the TSP for the next 4 months, which is decent, right? That's a third. That's over $1,000 a month for the last few months. Probably closer to $1,200. I don't know, whatever. So between that and the continuation pay that I received for crossing the 12 years this month, I should actually max my TSP, which would be the first time I've ever done that, which is, woo, I should have done that a lot more. But I'm really trying to kind of play catch up, not catch up, although I am catching up, but trying to put a lot of money into my TSP because I view that as my super duper emergency fund for everything. And I want to fund that as much as I can before I'm off active duty and in the reserve so that it will continue to grow and I can focus on other things. Plus, if I'm learning to live without that 33% of my paycheck right now, then that just means I'll be even more prepared for when the Marine Corps paycheck disappears or reserves, whatever, right? And then I'm able to go about my life. Like, I mean, there's a possibility that I get, a decent amount of disability rating. And if that happens, and I'm already putting a third of my paycheck into my TSP right now, then the disability and the paycheck, that would be similar, right? So what I'm doing is I'm putting a ton of money into my TSP, and I'm also preparing myself mentally for not having my paycheck by putting so much of it away. So great idea. Great idea. Look at me trying to freaking tote my own horn over here like that was the greatest idea. Look, it was just super simple. It was like, I don't need this money. Let me just put it in TSP where I've already got all my investing set up. So that's what I did. not saying you have to do that. That's just people were asking. So there are some things in this video about the payroll tax cut and tax deferral. Put some more. If you got more questions, throw them in the comments. I'll keep throwing videos out to help you guys out with this. I know it's kind of, people are worried about it, even though I don't think it's really anything to worry about. Don't stress about it. Just make sure you make some good decisions with the money. But I hope this helped. Let me know, and subscribe to the channel if you want more military advice or investing advice or real estate advice. And make sure you hit that like button to tell YouTube that you thought this video wasn't as dumb as the other one that you didn't hit the like button on. So, doo-doo, have a great day.